Ben Hogan used to say that the first 12 or so inches of the backswing is where most golfers got in trouble. And what we're going to see here is that's going to happen with John. He's going to lift the club in the first 12 inches of the backswing. See how the hands are coming up and away from his body. His shoulders aren't turning parallel to the swing plane. We'd like to see his shoulders turn on a line parallel with what he's set up for here as the swing plane. So the shoulders would turn parallel to that line. You can see that the trail shoulder's not going up and the lead shoulder's not going down. So he raises up a little bit. Now what's nice is he gets his forearm nicely set on the swing plane right here. He's in a great position right there. Good weight shift. Doesn't overswing. Now he's going to route the club back down nicely. But his shoulders still don't get back to where they were at setup. So he's creating a little bit of extra motion there. You see golfers like Tiger Woods do that drop all the time. When the timing's on, it's a great move. When the timing's off, it really causes problems. But here on this swing, you can see that John's timing is on really well. Look at that. That club face is coming directly in to the ball right at the bottom of the swing. Good launch, and away it goes with a good exit and a good turn. So we just need to get him to work a little bit more on the takeaway so that his shoulders turn a little more parallel to the swing plane. This golfer, as you can see, has himself a little jammed in at the setup. His hands are so far down underneath him that he's going to feel trapped. I like to see his hands hanging down underneath the chin, which you can see would put his hands quite a ways out, and he would have to be bent forward a little bit more. We'll undo that last line, and let's just draw in to see what his angle is on his setup. If we start here at about mid-phone and go up, that's one angle, and then to his ear. So he's about 42 degrees. So he is bent over, but if we go back up to where his spine is, you can see he's only at 30 degrees. So he's got that rounding going off in his shoulders, which creates his head to be further out, and then he feels jammed in. What we want him to do is work a little bit more on bending forward at the hips, and then keep the shoulders back and try to straighten that back up a little bit. That's not easy to do, but we're going to work on it on our next session. He actually came a long ways today. He was even tighter earlier. So we're going to watch the backswing. Let's undo the vertical line here. On the backswing, you can see the jamming in kind of creates this lifting motion that's going on. And watch the left knee move out towards the golf ball. That's not the direction we want the knee to move. We want the knee to move easily towards the other knee, towards the right knee. Keep the heel on the ground. Then he's going to get up to the top, and he does a pretty good small downswing, but you see what he's done? He's lifted up completely out of the shot because he was so jammed in. I think that if he started out where he is right now, with the hands right underneath the chin, that he'd have been in a better place. So we're getting him to work on that a little bit. Again, posture. He was so jammed in that he even had a tough time holding onto the club. We're all built a little differently. Our body structure is different. On a golfer a little bit ago, we saw that his hands were really close to his thighs, and he felt he looked jammed in. And yet with this golfer, you can see that his hands, even though they're still close to his thighs, are pretty much hanging down under his chin. He's in a pretty good line right there. Let's get that out of the way. Let's watch Al do his takeaway here. I like it when they take the club back in underneath the swing plane. The hands stay on the swing plane. That tells you the lead arm is staying up against the chest nicely. Now what he's doing here is he's folding his left arm because he's not turning anymore. We need to get him to keep turning rather than trying to get the club up simply by lifting the hands. Now he's going to bring the club back down a little bit above the plane, but not bad. He's dropping the club behind him. See how the club is behind the hands or inside the hands? We like that. We like the club shaft being more parallel to the trail forearm than it is to the lead forearm. Come through. A little bit lifting right there. That's his tendency because what he's doing here is he's releasing the club head early, and then his athleticism gets him to pull up. And you can actually see his left heel comes off the ground instead of being transferred onto the ground. What helps us create lag is turning and moving down and into the shot down and to the left. That lag allows us to have the hands well past the ball at impact, so we get a much stronger shot than that. It was a nice straight shot, but it was weak, and that was because he wasn't able to trap the ball. One of the things I like my students to do in setup is to get their hands more on the center of their body line. Now the center of your body line isn't straight up and down because notice that the shoulders are tilted like that. So if we use that same line, the hands would be up about here, tilted down the center of the body line. That puts the hands in front of the ball, which then puts the left wrist in a nice flat line. Now he's got to try to get to that spot before he hits the ball. So he creates club lag. Let's see what happens. I'm going to take the club away. He's going back to his Marine golf bag. He is an ex-Marine. A little bit of head movement going on. Pretty good position right there. He's playing single, playing golf. That's in a good spot. What we would like to see is the club shaft pointing more to an area back about 5 feet, about in where that red dot is. So the club would have a little bit more angle to it. You'd probably see the club shaft more along that line so that it points down to there. So that's pretty close. He's not bad. Now let's see if he's able to get back into the impact position with the hands in front on the single plane swing. Oh, and he faked us out there. That was a practice takeaway. Either that or he has a really slow down swing. Here we go again. Let's see if he does the same exact routine. See if he gets back to the same spot. Look at that, right there again. And again, he needed to get the hands pointed. He actually swayed off the ball a little bit more in his real swing. Nice straight lead arm, he's pulling in. No leg shift at all to the lead side. And so he's actually more tilted away at impact, but that's okay. But he hasn't transferred his weight. See how the toe is slipping around on the lead foot? So what we're gonna ask him to do is, on his practice swing, we're going to try to get him to move this structure that he builds. Put everything out of the way if I can show you the structure we're talking about here. We're talking about this structure there, which is the shoulders, the lead arm, and the golf club. We want him to move that structure down to where the hands are just off his trail thigh and that his hip is moved up to this forward line. We do that with, I have a PVC pipe. I also have a PVC club that we swing sometimes. But we're gonna try to get him to shift so he can get that movement going in to that lead side instead of falling away from the lead side. See how the hip is going away from the lead side? He's got a heck of a swing. He's got some good hand-eye coordination. We're just gonna get him to make that movement. And I think when you see this video, you're gonna agree with me. This is what you're gonna work on. We've got to get DB to reposition the golf ball. First off, the golf ball's got to come forward quite a bit. We'd like to see that golf ball about there instead of where it is. And then we'd like to see the golf shaft run more, whoops, that's not a shaft, that's a circle. We'd like to see the golf shaft run more up towards the lead shoulder. So our hands would be forward, and that would be in the center of her body. If we blow it up a little bit, or we could blow it up. Yeah, let's see if I can. Apparently I can't. Yeah, we can. We can see that the buttons are in a line. So if we come right down the button line, you'll see that in reality, her hands would be centered about up here. So we're gonna work on that a little bit and see if we can get back to where she was just last week. She was hitting the ball really well. So what this does, what position she's in right now, is it prevents her from getting into and rotating the club through impact. She's gonna scoop. There's your scoop, where she's not able to get the left hip, the left elbow down and the right hip through the swing. So we gotta work on that. She did a lot better job of keeping your head still though. See you next week. This golfer's been working pretty hard on getting some weight transfer going on and rotating the club through impact so that he's not scooping. It looks like we're getting 1 out of 2 of those done pretty well today. If we take the takeaway back, he's done a pretty good job of shifting onto the lead, onto the trail side. Knee stays flexed on the way down, that's good. So from the back, gee, it looks like he's making a good weight transfer. He's in a great position right here. Notice his hands are right back on the swing plane. Club shaft is parallel to the trail arm. He's gonna come through right there on the swing plane. Perfect alignment, really good. Nice rotation to the club face, how the club is turning over. Now what we're gonna see is that we're having a little issue right here. If we were really rotating our weight to the front side, what would happen is we would see the back of the bottom of this trail foot early, right about now, straight up. What we see is it's spinning out. So what's happening is the weight is actually moving backwards on this point, and then look at the front toes. He's actually falling back, and there's no weight at all. See how there can't be any weight on that foot if it's off the ground. Little jig here. Boom, 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 boom. So we're going to get him to finish onto that front leg. I'm going to go ahead and play this swing, just highlighting this golfer's head. See how much it moved around? Should I do it again? Back in the circle, up out of the circle, back into the circle, back up out of the circle. So people are telling him that he's lifting his head. The question is always, what am I lifting it with if I'm lifting it? Well, in this case, he's lifting it right here. Let's watch again. The knee go way out. When the knee goes out, then the foot comes off the ground. This elbow straightens up, knee straightens up, and he's lifting and coming out of his spine angle. Then he's got to figure out a way to get back into his impact position solidly, which then means he's got to bring his head back down into the circle. There he goes, back down into the circle. A lot of moving parts. Now that works really well if everything timing is on. But the more moving parts there are, the harder it is to get all that to work right. Right now, you can see he's in a pretty good impact position. He's going to go on through to a finish, and he's going to be able to transfer some weight onto the lead side. A little bit off balance, a little on his toes, not bad. But we need to get him to get rid of that move right there. You can see how high he's lifted that leg. He's got a great extension on his lead arm. Good position there. He's got his right elbow down. We just need him to have a little more confidence that he can stay like that throughout the entire swing, instead of coming up out of his swing at the top of his backswing. That usually happens with some of your really big hitters, especially some baseball players who are used to starting out with their toe in the air like that, their heel in the air. But he's got some good hand-eye coordination. We just got to get him to slow down and take it a little easier. We're going to play this swing at 8th speed. Oh, it's quarter speed. That'll work too. Looks pretty smooth and balanced and graceful. You see a lot of rotation going on. What we're not seeing is the correct rotation of the right hand over the left hand. See what I mean? At this point right now, the back of the right hand should be facing the camera. Just like in that equal position on this side, the back of the left hand is facing. We should just reverse that position here. And it took him a little while. What he's not doing is he's not driving his right knee, right hip around him fast enough so that he can have room to extend down the target. What we're going to ask him to do is learn how to tuck his butt under him. Sounds kind of funny. We want to tuck that butt under us instead of having it out behind us. If you notice in this position right here, he's got this kind of this wandering back. I'd like to see that really tucked in. I'd like to see almost a flat line right there with everything up against it. Really push it in. We want the right shoulder, right ear, right hip, right knee, left leg all on the same line. So he's got to move that, he's got to tuck that butt up under him. Oftentimes you see a swing at full speed, it looks like a pretty good swing. And there's a reason why we don't set the timing of our automobile engine at a full throttle. We always set the timing at an idle so we can see all the timing, if all the sparks are hitting at the right sequence. So watch this swing at full speed. Very smooth, very nice swing. Looks like a good swing until we go back again to just about the impact point. We move it down to the impact point. We're going to see how the left heel's coming right up off the ground, and the right heel's coming off the ground, and the right knee is moving out towards the golf ball. That position right there that he's in right now locks him so that he can't rotate his hips. That puts him in an awkward position because he can't drive the lower body into the shot. So you see he's still stuck there. Now he's really rotating the club over really strongly, but unfortunately by now I should at least be able to see one and possibly even both back pockets of his pants. The right knee should be moved significantly to the left knee, and the right heel should still be on the ground as we're rolling our ankle into the other side. There he finally gets it up. You can still see, if we look down at that trail leg, how the toes are bent over. There's still a lot of weight there. He's going to gain a tremendous amount of distance, 10% maybe, just by getting that momentum going forward so that he's able to fling the head of the club out by rotating the core of his body faster. This golfer, most of his issues come from the first, 18 inches or so of his takeaway. That's all hands. He's rotating them, lifting them. Let's just get a view of the hands here and try to see what's going on. I'm going to take it back real slow. Watch the hands exclusively here. Now they're coming up, going back a few inches, and then they're rotating and bending and moving all kinds of things around. He's got way more activity going on than he's turned. He hasn't really turned much at all. He's already got the club back 90 degrees or parallel to the target line. We'd like his shoulders to have been turned way more. Now he's starting to turn his shoulders. Let's clear it out. You can see that his shoulders have turned somewhat, but now he's all jammed in. He's got the club down real close to his shoulders. He's got no width. And now he's got to get long again. He's got to move his head back and on through. And again, he's not able to get the rotation. The club face did square up, but he didn't hit it solid. He's got that little squibbler off to the ground. So what we're going to try to get him to do is feel like the club extends right up through to his body, and it extends to the lead side of his body. And as he goes back, he's going to keep that connection to his body. Notice that the club is no longer pointing at his body, not even close now, way away from his body. We want him to still have that club pointing at his body. We want his hands to be back in here, where they should be, back on the red line. We'd like to see him make that good rotation and stay within this little area right here, stay under it. So he's going to come in under that table instead of over the top of it and way out over the top of it on the way down. So we're going to get him to take it away, what's called a one-piece takeaway. But what we'll do is we'll give him a training aid that's got an extension on it. We'll just put that extension against his body and let him feel what it would be like to get a nice takeaway that way. Now for years, putters actually anchored against part of the body. Some anchored off the belly button, some anchored off the chin, some anchored off the chest. That was illegal, so we can't do it with our golf swing, and we really wouldn't want to. But we want to have that same feeling, that the pivot point is just left of center, kind of off our left hip, and that the club is always kind of pointing towards the left side of our body. This golfer's been working really hard on posture, setup, and takeaway, and he's got a really good swing, except for one little tiny glitch there at the top of his backswing, which is a lot of motion that's not necessary. We like the feeling that the club kind of goes up and down on the same line, which is the swing plane. So it's going to stay about in there, and maybe it can be a little above it if we allow the club to just move parallel to our swing plane. So the shoulder should turn on a parallel line. We're going to play this at 8th speed. We'll take a look at the swing. You can see it's pretty smooth. His posture's pretty good. Lifting the club a little bit there. And then here, right about in here is where all the stuff happens, which throws him completely out of whack. He's not aware of that this windup happens right here. Now he's got great hip action, but we got to get rid of that windup. So we want the club at this point right now, if he just reversed the club path back to how it was on the takeaway, he'd have this nice downswing. Nice downswing, a little outside, but here's what he does. He comes up over the top, and now everything's going way up high. He's jammed in. He's coming way outside, cuts across it. He's going to have that high cut. Off it goes and off to the right, generating a tremendous amount of power, but he's a little unhappy with his consistency. I think if you can get rid of that little loop at the top of his backswing, that'll be all right. Now, if you are going to loop, what I'd like to see is the loop be the reverse of that, but it would be more like that. If you want to get there, that's fine, but then you got to go back that way and drop that club in the slot. Jim Furyk. What I want to do with this golfer is just simplify the swing. The swing needs to be a rotary motion. My grandfather taught me to feel like I was swinging inside of a barrel. So we'll kind of put him in a barrel here and take a look at the swing. I'm going to do it in slow motion, pretty slow. I want you to watch the amount of movement that's going on The only movement that's required on the backswing is turning our chest away from the target and then our lower body towards the target on the forward swing. So let's watch this extra motion. First motion is he goes forward. Second motion is he starts going backwards. Everything's moving backwards, collapsing. Then he's going back forward again and up a little bit. Now his tempo and timing was the same as the golfer behind him, which is kind of amazing. Now I just want you to compare the two movements. I didn't do this on purpose. Golfer behind him is smooth and steady. That's what we want him to do, is emulate Eddie back there. Maybe he doesn't have to have the cigar. Sometimes when you golf, picture that there's a little circle behind you, a couple of feet behind you, parallel to the target line, over your toes, and you're going to try to stick the club head in that little circle. What's this takeaway? He's going to lift that club way up and outside. He's lifting the club rather than just turning. The angles he's set now aren't anywhere near where he was at setup, so he's created this very vertical up and down swing. It's not anywhere near parallel to the shaft line that he was on at setup, which then creates a little problem. Then he's going to go further on. He's going to lift his whole body up by raising that left leg so far off the ground and then locking rigid the right leg. And then he's going to try to come back down to the golf ball. But you can see he's got all kinds of torque going on the shaft. Both legs have straightened up. His hands are much higher than they were at setup. And he's going to come down and cut across the ball and have a weak, soft shot out to the right. He was aiming left of the palmetto tree right there. So you see he got a pretty wide, 75 yards to the right shot. And I think if you just reduce the amount of movement that he's doing and try to get a feeling of just going straight back and straight through and not quite so two-plane. He's got a two-plane setup, but he also does this two-plane swing. You can see right now the plane of the golf shaft is way up. See how it's straight up and down here? So if we were to continue that swing plane line, it would be straight down like that. That's the line he'd have to pull the club down on, but he doesn't. He goes way outside that line. So we asked him to flatten his swing out a little bit, especially with the longer clubs, and see if we can get him into a position that's a little bit more conducive to constant contact and good direction. We're going to watch Joe do the one-arm swing drill, and that's the drill that teaches you to have that flat left wrist at impact and to let the club rotate. The design of the club is designed for the head to rotate. The toe passes the heel. The shaft is in the end of the club, which creates that rotation. Most golfers tend to fight that because the psychology is we have to square the club up through impact. Well, we really don't do either of those. We let the club rotate at perfect timing through impact so that the toe is passing the heel through impact, and that gives us that little extra bounce off the face of the club because the face of the club is moving faster. So let's just watch this in slow motion. I'm going to go back. Just synced up pretty good. His tempo's pretty even. Downswing's pretty even. Now look at the difference in the two hands now. Okay, you can see that the other club, the club on the left, the one-hand club, is already square to the target line. He's not even trying to do that. He's got a nice bow in the left hand. He's got considerable lag. Then he's going to lead through. You can see that the club now is right down his arm, but the club has not passed his hand, and his hand is past his body. And yet on the other side, we see that the left wrist is bent and the right hand is pointing skyward with the palm. There's no rotation. Notice that we can already see the fingers of the lead hand. Can't see them at all. Look at the elbow position on the lead hand. It's down. The elbow position here is bent and up. And then a nice release, no release at all on the other side. He's got it in him to do that. And that's the power, I think, of practicing one-handed. I've seen John Daly hit little 40-yard pitches one-handed. I'll sometimes practice one-handed, especially now that I lost a lot of the strength in my left arm through injuries. So now I'm primarily a right-hand swinger, which is not easy to do. But so I practice a little bit, swing left-handed, just to keep the motion going, teach the motion. And then I've been swinging one-handed with my right hand to teach the timing. Same as he's doing, but in reverse and on through. I have enough strength to swing the club very fast with my left hand, only holding the club in 2 fingers and still letting it turn over and finish correctly. Joe can do that too. He's just got to use his body and legs a little better and allow that club to rotate.